front of the net. Foligno scores! Michael Foligno has scored for Toronto!
Good morning, Maple Leaf fans. Welcome back to another episode of the Leafs Lounge, coming at you at a new time here so we could have a discussion post Craig Berube introductory press conference. As Justin and I were talking off air, fascinating stuff, Justin? Fascinating reveals, and we learned so much about what Berube is going to do differently, huh?
Yeah, I mean, that is just the kind of coach he seems he's going to be. The media is not going to be the biggest fan of his short-winded answers, and just quick and to the point.
Yeah, accountability.
Yeah.
That kind of felt like the overarching theme today.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I got from it. I wrote down a couple things that I thought he said was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But once again, he did not say much. Even when it came to what he wants to do with the assistant coaching staff, there's all these rumors floating around online that he's bringing someone over that he's worked with for a while. A lot of people thinking that it's Marc Savard to man the power play.
Heard that.
We'll see. I hope that's the case because that means Guy Boucher's out of town.
Yeah, like if they haven't already told Guy Boucher to pack his bags, I'd be shocked. I think Tree Living had like a familiarity with him, and that's why he was brought in to work with Sheldon Keefe. So maybe he's not out the door for sure, but I mean, I'd hope so. And yeah, if you're bringing in someone like Marc Savard, you would think it would be a guy who obviously would take over those duties, right? Power play and forwards, kind of anything like that. Yeah.
I think it would be better if he came in and said, all right, I want an entire coaching staff that I decide. Like he doesn't want anybody. I think that if you're going to go with the fresh start at head coach, it should be right down the line.
Yeah.
So.
And I would hope he'd be empowered to do that, right? Like I would hope Tree Living's not like, we're going to pay you all this money and give you a 4-year deal, but, you need to keep Guy Boucher and Mike Van Ryn. I mean, I think Mike Van Ryn might stick around because he worked with Berube in St. Louis.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll find out soon if he actually liked working with him or not, because it would be an easy rehire or continue on his contract.
He did mention that he has worked with somebody on the staff in the interview. Like he did say something like that.
Yep.
So he has that familiarity with somebody at least. So maybe that means that Van Ryn's staying.
Could be. Could be. And I think even just from like the playoff series, like if we think Mike Van Ryn, his focus would have obviously been on the defensive side. Defensive side was not really the biggest concern for this team. Like he actually got a lot out of guys who, when you look at their talent, you'd be like, oh, this is a very mid blue line. But, they actually kind of controlled the Bruins quite well.
Yep.
Not that we want to get too much into the the playoff series recap, but it felt like that wasn't the biggest issue, defensive play.
It was on the offensive side, which is the duties of Malhotra and Boucher. So those two especially, I think, are out. We'll see what happens though in the coming weeks. I can't imagine that it'll go into June. I feel like Berube will have
Probably not. And it's obviously other teams who are going to be looking to hire either a new head coach or new assistant. So I think just out of respect to them, you would hope that the organization would be like, we're going to let you know in the coming weeks here if you're coming back or not. So, I'm sure that will be the case. I found it kind of funny. You're talking about it off air, the question on the goaltending. Like, that just seemed like totally out of left field. Like, oh, Craig, welcome to Toronto. What do you think of your goaltending? And it's like as we said, like for sure that would have come up in the interview process with Brendan Shanahan and Tree Living. But I don't know, I forget if it was Steve Simmons or whoever it was who asked the question, but what are you exactly hoping you're going to get from Berube today on that? Like, I've already looked at all the tape of Joe Woll. He is our guy. We're not going to sign anybody else. Like, come on, guys. Ask him about what he hopes to bring as a coach, not what they're going to do with the personnel. Because very likely that hasn't even been decided, let alone would they reveal it to you if they had,
I mean, even when he was asked what he thinks he's going to bring to the team as a coach, he like, we can laugh at it. He just said structure. Oh, we're going to bring structure and accountability. And it was a lot of that, not much substance.
Yeah, it was a lot of like cliche, right? Like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, you're going to bring structure. And then even like Tree Living had to qualify that. Oh, I'm not saying that Sheldon Keefe didn't bring that. He was a great coach, great person. He had to like go into all that because I think the question was just like, again, like you're asking a very basic question. What else is a new coach going to say other than, accountability? I want to have partnerships with my players. I want to have a structure, like all the kind of token phrases and hockey cliche terms. And I think we heard all of them and checked the box.
Yeah. There was one question that I thought was really good. And of course, Berube didn't give much, but the question was, the Leafs have had 100-point seasons now in 3 straight years, but have failed to get it done in the playoffs. So, like, what do you think you can bring that's going to change that?
Right.
Something along those lines. And he's like, we're focused on now. That's in the past. Like, we're not.
And I don't know if I even like that answer too much. It was like, I get it. You're not accountable for what's happened in the past, but you could have just gone like, look, I don't know what went wrong in the past. Obviously, there's a need to get over the hump. We know we've got talent here, that the expectations are obviously high for this team to get, have a deeper playoff run and whatnot. But yeah, I don't think anyone was expecting you to, say, oh, here's exactly what I'm going to do differently, because you weren't there. We just expect you to bring something that will help the team that obviously maybe was lacking previously, right?
Yeah.
But,
I mean, I guess
it's definitely a little bit awkward.
He doesn't want to throw anybody under the bus. He doesn't want to say what Sheldon Keefe was failing at. But, as a fan, I wanted to hear something a little bit juicier, I guess. Something
absolutely. Well, I think in any of these like media availabilities, you're always hoping for that like amazing reveal or, oh my God, I can't wait to hear how he's going to answer this one. And then it's always like, oh shit. Okay. That wasn't very exciting. I could have predicted that answer. I was hoping you could give me something more as a new head coach, but no, you're never getting it. Never.
Yeah. Another thing that kind of caught me off guard, I was surprised at, was when Tree Living said that he talked to or met with 8 to 9 guys.
Yeah.
In the hiring process. I didn't think that the search was that wide.
No, it didn't seem like it. It wasn't reported.
It makes me question who were the other 6 guys. Like, if we can assume that, we know
Todd McLellan
was one, and I'm assuming Guy Boucher was probably in there as well.
Could be. And I heard Gerald Gallant too. I heard his name. Yeah.
So
I'm sure they inquired on Rod Brindamore. And I think that's maybe where the announcement on Friday of Craig Berube getting hired. I don't know if they needed to wait for Carolina to be officially done to even inquire with either Carolina's owner, Don Waddell, their GM, or Brindamore. I'd be shocked if they didn't at least put in a phone call Friday morning. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I don't know, Joel Quenneville, did they maybe inquire at the NHL? Is there a chance? Gets reinstated? Maybe. So it's probably not 9 formal interviews as much as it probably was
just chatting
9,
with somebody, testing waters. Yeah.
9 interactions.
Maybe, Woodcroft as well, perhaps.
Could be.
But yeah, I thought that was a little bit wider of a search than I first thought. Because I thought it seemed like from the start, Tree Living, and he kind of said it where he was like, every time I talked to somebody, it kept coming back to Berube,
Yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of like a crush,
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I was shocked when I heard that. I'm like, okay, I guess that's good. That kind of makes us as fans feel like, okay, Craig Berube really was the guy who won out of based on a larger subset of candidates. But again, we don't know how exhaustive those interview processes were with the other guys, but it feels like, they kind of had that connection from the get-go with Tree Living, Shanahan basically saying that there was kind of that similar kind of, in terms of what we want to do, how we want the team to look. We kind of felt like there was that connection and common theme across the three of us. So I kind of like that because it didn't feel like Tree Living and Sheldon Keefe were quite there, even though Tree Living brought him back. It feels like Berube definitely feels more like what Brad Tree Living will try and bring to the team and then have him coach.
Like he matches the kind of team culture that it seems Tree Living wants to build.
Yeah. Accountability.
Yeah. And a little bit more focused on heavy play.
Yep.
And Berube said, like, he wants, because the thing is with this Leafs team, you have to, like, okay, maybe he wants to play a heavier game, but he has to change that and be a little bit more flexible, knowing that the Leafs are just a highly skilled team with like high-end talent that not a lot of other teams in the league have. So you have to, be flexible with that theory. And he said that he wants to play fast and heavy, but not like heavy as in big hits, but more like just strong
fighting,
and puck battles and making sure that like holding guys accountable there, which will be interesting because that's been a big problem especially for fans, is like watching guys give up on puck battles. So hopefully that's where Berube is going to really get in the guys' heads and build them up.
Agreed. Yeah. And I think like right now, when you look at it, like Berube coming here with his approach, at least theoretically, what we kind of know he wants to bring. Yeah, it does seem like kind of an odd fit with, as you said, some of the more one-dimensional talents that we have where skill, puck possession has been the name of the game. It doesn't feel like Berube, either, not that he wouldn't welcome that style. He talked about obviously wanting to play a North game, but that could also mean a lot of dump and chase and forechecking, winning puck battles, which obviously not exactly a staple of this Maple Leaf team over the years. So there probably will be a few issues, I think, or discussions to be had in training camp. The first time he sees Nylander do a flyby.
I mean, that's the thing, right? Like Nylander's obviously seen as part of the core, at least in Tree Living's mind. Like he's here for the long haul with Matthews.
Well, but Tree Living doesn't want to talk about the core, man. It's all about the team. I don't want to talk about core 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He keeps saying that. I love it.
I know, but it's like when Nylander is like, he's gonna have a stretch of 5 to 6 games where you're like, holy crap, this guy sucks.
But now he might not see the ice in that 5th or 6th game. That's going to be,
and that's the thing.
That'll be interesting
because we know, watching, like, I've watched Willie play for 8-9 years now. Yeah, like it's been a while.
Almost 9.
And so I know, like, it's just part of his game is that he's not going to have it every night, but you just have to know, like, he's going to have it eventually.
Right.
For sure. I hope that, like, him and Berube can get on the same page, and maybe Berube helps him become more consistent. I mean, Nylander definitely had his most consistent season yet, and he still had those stretches where he wasn't great. So
no, exactly. And the one thing that I was listening to the Jeff Merrick podcast before the press conference started, and they were talking about how, you look at who Craig Berube has coached. He's had some good players like Claude Giroux in Philly, Ryan O'Reilly, Pietrangelo in St. Louis. But
I like
probably Robert Thomas. Yeah.
Kyrou.
Yeah. But still those guys not in the Austin Matthews type caliber, obviously, right?
I would say not even really. Like, Giroux is obviously comparable, but
especially Giroux then in his prime.
I think Nylander is better than all those guys, really.
You can make an argument, and I mean, let's also include Mitch Marner. He's not gone yet, which we will obviously get to in a few minutes, the Mitch Marner speculation. But the point that they were making was like, it will be interesting to see how Berube handles, a generational type superstar like Austin Matthews. Is it going to be more of that Sheldon Keefe empowerment? You get your 22, 24 minutes of ice time, no matter how you're playing, or is it going to be like I hope it doesn't go back to this, a Mike Babcock? Yeah, if you're not going,
minutes.
you might play 17 minutes in a game 7.
Yeah.
A game 7 that we're losing.
The best thing about Matthews is that it's so rare that he's not engaged.
Agreed. Yeah.
Like, he's going to have it nearly every night. And
yeah. He'll have something.
It seemed like he was scoring a goal every game this year. Like, he's going to make something happen no matter what.
Yeah.
So
yeah, he isn't a guy you shouldn't want to take off the ice. He's not a guy you want to take off the ice.
Contrary to a lot of people, I think Berube will actually really like what Marner would bring to the table.
Yeah.
For all Marner's, like, I think Marner is still really good with the stick, just doesn't use his body. Like, he wins puck battles in a different way, and he's good defensively. I think Berube would like that. And maybe
kind of like a Jordan Kyrou play style. I think Kyrou has maybe a little bit more flash to his game. But in terms of just their play style, more perimeter guys, I would say.
I'd say Marner's more like a Robert Thomas, a playmaker first kind of guy. Because Kyrou does score 30, 35. Whereas Thomas is more like the I'll get 2 assists kind of guy.
Yeah, that's fair.
So
it'd just be interesting to see how Berube handles kind of the star talent here, and if he does change anything, if he's still willing to put them on the ice, like if they're not playing well, or if power play 1 ain't clicking, is he going to take a guy off power play 1, or will he do what Sheldon Keefe always did and said, okay, you guys are going right back out there, even though you didn't get a shot on net the last time out, Yeah. So kind of curious to see how that translates. Okay. So that's kind of all I guess we probably took from the press conference, but let's get into Mitch Marner trade speculation. I'm sure you've kind of heard all the same things I have, but a couple reports from Steve Kouleas and Frank Saravelli, where Steve Kouleas said that his sources tell him that he thinks Mitch Marner is at least open to waiving his no movement, that, whether or not he's been asked to or not, he's not sure, but that there's an understanding, or at least there's kind of a belief that Mitch Marner is open to waiving it. And then Frank Saravelli actually took it a step further. He said there's a 5% chance that Mitch Marner will be back in Toronto. 5% only. That's pretty bold.
Like, that's basically, like, he's basically coming out and saying that Marner will not might will waive his no move clause,
and that he will get traded. Not only will he waive, but the Leafs will make sure they find a way to move him. Which I was kind of taken aback by that.
It sounds like Nashville's interested. I saw somebody say, I forget who, but one insider did say that Nashville kind of said, "Hey, like, Brad, if you are dealing Marner, give us a call first. Give us a first try." Nashville's got a lot of. Nashville's a team you'd trade with if you want young roster pieces back,
or a goalie. Yeah, and everyone's made that connection. Saros and Mitch Marner, because they're both pending UFAs.
You cannot do 1-for-1, right?
I don't think it'll be 1-for-1.
You'd have to get something extra. And Nashville has the money to take on Marner's full contract and give him an extension. Right? And Nashville's a fun place to play. It's got a good barn.
He can reunite with Luke Shen and Ryan O'Reilly.
Yeah, he's got some rapport with those guys. But if they have a couple guys, like Cody Glass is 25. Evangelista's 22. He had a pretty good year.
Evangelista's a nice player. Yep.
Or you go
Jeremy
Dante Fabro, right-hand defenseman, 25 years old.
Yep.
That's another guy you're looking at. You're like, okay, maybe.
Yeah, you would hope that there'd be something on top of Saros. I'm just not sure it'll be as much as maybe some Leaf fans would hope. And obviously, it's not to
I
say
think
this deal is close to happening, but I don't know if you're getting much more.
no, and it's so funny just how wide range of like opinions Leaf Nation has on Marner, right? There's people that are
Oh,
like dump him
crazy.
into the ocean for 12 million in cap space, and then
Yep.
there's people who are like, well, we can't just give him away for nothing. Like I want
Right.
a haul. I want to get what you would usually receive for a 100-point player, which is where
Yeah.
I stand, but it'll fall somewhere probably in the middle where it's
Yeah. Like I've seen some, Marner to Anaheim for Owen Zellweger, and McTavish.
well,
Like,
not that.
Anaheim ain't doing that. Anaheim
I
will not
love
do that.
if Anaheim is willing to move off of McTavish, knowing that they have Carlson, Cutter Gauthier, Zegras, all of them are centers,
Yeah. I don't know
and
if
then
they'd
they
want to
have
move
another really
McTavish.
high. They have another really high pick. They're
Yeah.
noted saying that they want a high end winger, top 6 winger. Marner
Yeah.
is perfect. He kind of fits with their window of competition because he's still so young.
Yeah, it could be a fit. I just
So
don't know if you're get that much, like
I think Mason
2
McTavish,
top prospects.
if McTavish is a really good player, I doubt he reaches the level Marner's at.
Probably not. Probably
But
not.
if he can be a good 2C for the foreseeable future, pushing Tavares into the third line role, then that's a win. You know, you're changing the culture.
Yeah.
McTavish, I watched him at the World Juniors for all those years. He works his ass off. He's a leader.
For sure. And I
That
think
would be a
that's
nice
kind of
player.
I think that's where like a lot of people in terms of like when they make these mock trades or they try and rationalize what the return will look like on Mitch Marner. I think everyone, or not everyone, but a lot of fans are hoping to get a equally talented, equally productive, or equally capable player in this transaction, where I just don't think that's within the realm of possibility
No,
because you're not just dealing with a younger up and coming player who's on a good contract. You're dealing with Mitch Marner, who, most would probably recognize now his current contract at 10.9, probably a little bit higher than what you would like based on the
but
return, but you could probably deal with that. What you can't deal with is if
the
he's
thing,
now asking for 12.
the thing
Right?
is, it's a $10.9 million player who is on like undisputed top 30 player in the NHL,
Yep.
probably top 25 if you really wanted to break it down.
But he's paid as a top 10.
But that's just because the contracts are all going to go up. He'll drop out of that as soon as this next string of free agencies.
Or he
like
might,
Gensel's
but
going to get 11 this
sure.
offseason.
But they're saying Marner might get 12.5, or at least he's going to ask for that. So
Well,
then, he's going to
goes
be
out
top
next
10.
season. If he goes out next season, drops 110
Balls
points.
out. Yep.
If he drops 110 points, 30 goals, 80 apples, like he's going to get $12 million.
No, exactly. Like, and I think if he goes to market, I don't think there'd be a lot of teams because they won't have the cap room, but her find a team.
Fair amount. I think there'd be a fair amount.
Her find teams who will pay him 12 mil. And I think that's where his camp recognizes that, sure, I'll waive my no movement, but I'm not going to do it for Columbus. I'm not going to do it for, like, I don't know where else he wouldn't want to go. Like, I don't know if Washington, I'm just naming random teams here, Buffalo.
Yeah.
But he's going to say, here are my 5 teams. And, oh, look, it's LA, it's Vegas, it's, Colorado, Florida. Those are the teams I want to go to. And probably no state tax location would be preferred, I'm sure. Because then he might not need to take 12.5 or ask for 12.5. He's like, yeah, if I make 11 mil in Tampa, that's going to be still more money in my pocket than 12.5 in Toronto. So that might allow him to get a deal done a little bit easier if he's willing to tell a team like, okay, I'll take 11 if you're trading for me, But I just think like some of the other rumors I've heard, like LA Kings for Brant Clark and Adrian Kempe. Like, no. Like, if you're LA, and I know, like, as a Leaf fan, we're like, oh, I'll do that today. But, like, why would LA do it? Like, yes, Marner is probably better than Kempe or is better than Kempe, but not by enough to justify paying Marner 12.5 when Kempe, I think, is at like 7.5 now or 8 or whatever. Yeah. So I think that's the other element that some Leaf fans are just forgetting. Like, yeah, sure. Everyone would want Mitch Marner on their team. Everyone would. Everyone wants a Nylander on their team. But at the cost that they're going to be, you do have a lot of teams that will likely be out of the mix.
Yes and no, because the cap is going up. Not just this offseason. Yep. It will take another significant boost next offseason when he is an actual UFA. And if Marner does happen to hit the market, I cannot think of somebody who is who would be a more touted UFA in the last 10, 15 years. I honestly can't. Maybe you
probably not that far off.
Ryan Suter, Zach Parise, like that maybe those two at the time, but he would be probably more touted than John Tavares was when he became a UFA. And nobody since then at the caliber of Marner, 100-point player, has hit the market. That it just never happens.
How about Johnny Hockey? Johnny Hockey did. But you can make the argument not the same caliber.
He was at the end of his prime. I don't consider Gaudreau in the same tier as Marner.
Well, especially not now. Especially not now. He had a horrible year. Although he is tearing it up at the World Championships.
So maybe it's just a Columbus issue. I don't know.
Yeah. Or the fact that he's playing Norway and Poland.
Oh, yeah. that probably has something to do with it, too.
Yeah, it could be that as well. So, I mean, in terms of, I guess, just talking again, staying on the topic of Mitch Marner, what would kind of be like your bare minimum expectation on a return? Obviously, taking away the extreme perspective that we both don't agree with, just get cap room back and it's a win. I agree that is terrible. But what would you hope to get back? Is it a combination of cap room and a blue liner? Is it a futures return? Like, would you want a first round pick and maybe a prospect? Like, where are you at in terms of what you would like to see?
Well, I told you on the last pod, I said, I'm not opposed to the idea of trading Marner for futures, taking a small step back this year, and then you're all in the year after. Right? And then you made a good. Of course, you don't want to do that. You have Matthews and Nylander in their absolute prime.
Window to win.
But like this season almost seems like it's such a weird year because you want to get rid of the Tavares 11, and this is his last year at 11, and then he can come down to whatever it is where he's going to walk.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're going all in next season. You'll have a shit ton of cap room. And you'll have probably Cowan, Minton, maybe fully ready to go or with NHL experience. They'll be in the lineup. You're just all in the year after. So maybe a futures approach is what I'm leaning more towards. I like the idea of having young roster players, maybe someone 23, 24, where they have played NHL games and they have room to grow still.
Yeah, like I guess I wouldn't be opposed to that. It just goes back to what I was saying, I guess, last week, where it's like, I just don't want to see, and I know you're not suggesting throwing away a year, but if you are just taking a futures return for Marner and not then turning around and trading, whether you get a first round pick or a prospect for something that can help you today, I just don't know if that's the type of trade Tree Living would be looking for. And I just go back to the Nylander situation, where the reports were last offseason that in any return for Nylander, True Living was asking for basically like a first pairing blue liner. Obviously, didn't feel he was able to get that or was never offered that, and they decided to re-sign him. So that tells me that the Mitch Marner kind of trade talks that are going to be going on, assuming they do, would probably have a similar kind of need from Tree Living standpoint. That I'm not going to just take, if it's the LA Kings or, Florida who's coming after Marner, I'm not going to take a late first round pick from them and a prospect who probably won't be wearing a Toronto Maple Leaf jersey for 5 years. And that might be best case scenario.
That far down the line either. I'm thinking like a guy like Mason McTavish, or I just opened up
Right.
Twitter and the first thing I see is a Marner trade proposal, obviously. And
Obviously.
it contains Logan Cooley, you know, a guy
I've
like
heard a
that
lot of
where
that.
you have played NHL games, you have experience, and you can get to that next level. There's maybe 1,
Right.
2, 3 steps that you're not at your peak yet.
Yeah. So you're taking a small step back, most likely, not a major one.
The thing is that, like, I think we'd still make the playoffs. Like, you're still going to have, as a fan, you're still going to enjoy the 82 game regular season. Then you're going to enjoy your playoff. Maybe you go on a magical run and you can ride your hot young guns all the way to the finals. Who knows, right?
Yeah.
Anything can happen. But
I mean, I think it also depends on what they're going to do with, like, either their defense, goaltending, forward depth. Are you bringing Domi and Bertuzzi back? And how are you going to be able to recruit, whether it is your own free agents like Domi, Bertuzzi, and then maybe potentially looking in the UFA free agent class? Are you going to be able to recruit the guys that you might want to bring in, whether that is a Brett Pesce, a Brandon Montour, if they just saw you get like a mostly futures return for Mitch Marner? You know, like that would be my only issue. How is your recruiting pitch changed to these guys if they see you flip Mitch Marner for a first round pick and maybe a Logan Cooley who
I don't think
probably
it
doesn't. No,
because I still think that when Matthews finishes either first or second in whatever, what's the non-heart with one voted by the players again? What's that one called?
Yeah, Lester B. Pearson.
Yeah,
Mr. Pearson. Yeah,
the MVP voted by the players. He's gonna finish maybe first or second. He has a lot of respect around the league. Like, a lot of the guys respect scoring 70 goals, right? So I truly believe that you're not the Leafs, and it's the Leafs. You're never gonna have a problem recruiting talent. So,
no, I don't think. But if they're competing with some other contender, whether it's Florida, Toronto, Boston, Colorado, are the teams interested in free agent B, you know? And the Leafs just made a trade where they gave up Mitch Marner for, you know, even if it is a Logan Cooley, for argument's sake. I don't know. That might sway the player, but I do totally acknowledge and understand where you're coming from. And yeah, for the most part, being in Toronto, you're always going to have that upper hand on most teams, maybe not all teams. I think there's going to be players who are like, yeah, I don't want to play with Canada because of, you know, everything going on, political landscape, taxes, all that kind of garbage. But at the end of the day, if you've got 3 or 4 teams, the odds are Toronto is probably going to, and if the money is the same, I think Toronto can be able to get that guy to sign. So
and plus
that remains the case.
Toronto over, especially a team like Florida, in Colorado, maybe not so much Boston, but especially those teams. The Toronto has the ability to do a lot of upfront signing bonus. July 1st, just front load the entire contract. You're getting these guys their money sooner.
Yeah.
And
they
not
definitely
a lot of
have the
teams
resources to do that. For sure.
Yeah, like you look at almost every single UFA, it seems like, all right, July 1st, like Tavares is getting a $7 million signing bonus.
Right. Yeah, no, there's definitely some like power that the Maple Leaf organization has over other teams, and obviously that financial might, just to be able to bring players over that maybe, you know, wouldn't have the same kind of offers presented to them by other teams, other markets. Yeah. So yeah, I think for sure that just play in.
I just did a quick look. Matthews, his base salary for next season is only $775,000.
Yeah,
he's getting 16 million signing bonus on July 1st.
That's a nice payday. Nice payday. July 1st can't come soon enough for Tone.
Everything is just so upfront, and that's a luxury that the Leafs can get with these UFA guys, right? You're just Would you rather your money now, or or spread out over the next 7 years? It's like,
for sure. And all of that is, obviously it's great to have the money up front, but all of that has like different implications on taxes, right?
Yeah.
So I think for players who sign in Toronto, there's obviously a benefit to have your money paid out in front rather than spread over the term. So I think there's always, through the player's financial advisor, there's always ways to kind of say, yeah, you're right. Yeah, if you go to Florida or Vegas, it is tax-free. So our 11 mil or our 13.25 for Austin Matthews, yeah, won't go as far as 13.25 in Florida, but here's where we can help offset it,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And all of this is minute if Marner just decides that he wants to stay in Toronto, which is, I think he would. I don't see why he would waive. He loves playing with Matthews. He loves.
Apparently, there's only a 5% chance.
I don't believe anything Frank Cervelli says. I think
fair enough. Fair enough. And he's probably the most anti-Toronto Maple Leaf guy ever. He's always front and center with, if there's any Leaf either not performing, any GM who doesn't seem to be making the right moves, Cervelli is just there to just jab the knife in there,
Yeah, something tells me that if he's hearing it's 5% chance, then every single insider would hop on that. And really, you're only hearing it from him right now, so.
Yeah. Well, I think from the more local media guys like your Darren Dreger, he's probably going to come out with the bomb soon that Mitch Marner is going to get 14 mil on his next contract. I have a feeling Darren Dreger is on the Mitch Marner payroll because he definitely has. He's always been well, yeah, if the Leafs are talking to Mitch Marner about an extension, it starts with a 14.
Yeah, I remember when he was going through the RFA process, Dreger posted something. He's like, "Oh, the Leafs better be careful. He doesn't get offer sheet. There's going to be offer sheets."
And he doesn't talk about the other RFAs, at the time, he wasn't worried about what Matthew Tkachuk would need to get from Calgary or whoever. It was Mitch Marner is going to be a problem. They better figure out that contract soon. It's dude, there's 15, 20 RFAs. Obviously the Leafs have a major talent that they've got to figure out what they're going to do. But the RFA issue isn't isolated to the Maple Leafs. But it is what sells newspapers, and it's good clickbait. So I definitely get why they do it.
It's what pays the bills.
That's it. So, yeah, I mean, anything else on Mitch Marner or any kind of off-season curiosity you've got on maybe what this team is going to be looking for? Any UFAs you have your eye on that you would love to be reeled in?
I don't really know. It's so early for that. I just haven't put much thought into it.
Whoa. You know what? You just sounded like Craig Berube there. You're not going to give anything. Yeah, it's not the time today, guys, for that. It's not the time today.
You're right. It's not the time.
Yeah. We have to let Justin do his analytics on all the free agents and then have an answer for you in a future episode.
Because you can't make any decisions until you hear whether or not they're trading Marner.
No.
I'm not fully sold. I'm not fully in on trading him.
Oh, I can tell you're not. I can
but
tell.
Hey, if you are, I hope that they get something good back. So
yeah, and look, I mean, for me, it's not as we were talking about earlier, it's not like you just drop him off at the bus stop and see a Mitch Marner. You need to get something really good, and I'm even kind of more than maybe you are that you need to get more immediate help as opposed to a younger guy that takes that kind of makes your team take a step back. So I'm more of if there's a high-end defenseman that can come back and maybe there's a first-round pick in there or a prospect, but I am kind of wary of the fact that if Mitch Marner's contract requirements or his asking price is around 12.5, that is absolutely going to have to be taken into account, and maybe the Maple Leafs need to do a sign and trade. Because then at least you can give that team that 8th year, right? As your own free agent. So that could be a good selling point if you can get a Mitch Marner contract done. And obviously it would have to be done with the expectation that acquiring team is good with the term or whatever. But at least you can give an extra year with Mitch Marner. So that might be something to look at going forward. The one name that I saw, and obviously every UFA at some point between now and till they sign on July 1 is going to be rumored to be going to Toronto.
Wait, let me stop. Can I guess who you're gonna say?
Yeah, go.
Stammer?
No, I've heard a lot of that too, and I just kind of tune that out because I know it's not happening, but it would be pretty cool. I don't see that happening, but Jake DeBrusk is a name that has been out there recently. The Leaf Killer. Leaf Killer comes to Toronto.
Leaf saw him score 2 power play goals, and now he's Connor McDavid. So let's give him $6 million. No, yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, I mean, I like the player. I wouldn't obviously mind bringing him in, but I don't even know if it's really a fit. I don't even think Jake DeBrusk would want to come here. I don't know. It just seemed like
DeBrusk seems like it would be the last ditch effort to keep the Bertuzzi kind of attribute around. Like if Bertuzzi walks, then they want to bring someone that has a similar playing style. Then you have DeBrusk. But I don't know. I'm not a big fan. I get it. Leafs fans are gonna look at the playoffs. They're gonna be like, "Oh, he scored 2 or 3 power play goals. Oh, he's so good."
Like that, yeah.
it just seems like a recipe for failure. And
yeah, I mean, fair enough. I mean, the UFA class for forwards isn't as good as the blue line, in my opinion. Or maybe it's because the Leafs will be prioritizing the blue line. But you've got Jake Gensel, who most think he will re-sign in Carolina. Elias Lindholm, Sean Monahan. These are the bigger names out there.
Chandler Stevenson's interesting. I like that.
Yeah, that wouldn't be too bad.
So,
and I think that's why a lot of speculation has been on Mitch Marner maybe to Vegas for the popular return of Shea Theodore and a first-round pick, because Vegas has a lot of free agents that they're not going to bring back.
Yeah, or even to give them a little bit of cap relief and take out Carlson as well, William Carlson. I like him.
Carlson could be a fit. Yeah, I mean, I don't think they need cap relief because I hear Mark Stone might be hurt soon. So I think Vegas will always be fine with cap situation because of that.
I mean, Jake DeBrusk this year had 19 goals and 40 points in 80 games.
Oh, he didn't even break 20. Okay. I thought he would have been mid-20s.
But in classic Leaf fashion, they see the guy score 3 power play goals against them, the worst penalty kill in the playoffs, and they think that he's Connor McDavid. So we'll see.
Well, I mean, if you can't beat him, join him, right? That's kind of the mentality. If you can't get past these players or these teams, why don't you take what they've got? All right, so why don't we just do a recap? Obviously, pretty exciting Game 7 last night. So we now have our conference finals.
No.
You didn't like it? It's at the end there, it got exciting.
Oh, yeah. The last 10 minutes were exciting. What a snooze fest of a game that was.
The first 40 minutes, sure.
The first 2 periods looks like it was going to be the worst Game 7 of all time. Vancouver had 5 shots.
I know. Yeah, it was pathetic. Well, and for all the flack that our core guys get, where the hell was McDavid and Quinn Hughes? They did nothing.
McDavid was a ghost, but
he didn't get a point, and I think he had 1 shot on net.
Draisaitl was really good, I thought.
Draisaitl was good. Hyman played
Pettersson was a ghost, as he's been all playoffs, but let's give Canucks fans will still love him up and give him $10 million. So,
or I mean he got 11.6 or whatever. So it's funny because I know everyone's talking about how Vancouver Canuck fans are better than Leaf fans. They were giving their team a standing ovation after last night. Yeah, talk to me when that happens 8 years in a row. Talk to me when that happens 8 years in a row and you're paying Pettersson 11.6 and JT Miller 9 or 8.5. Talk to me then.
Yeah, if the Leafs gave that effort through 40 minutes, there would have been boo-birds the entire second period. That would have been it would just be raining down on them as they walked to the locker room. It was brutal.
And look, Leaf fans get criticized, and some of it is fair. But look, for what we've had to watch and go through, I'm sorry, if in this 8th year you're dogging it, even on a power play or in 1 period, I think you deserve to get booed. I think that's fair. I don't want anyone throwing things at the players or going on to their, IG page and harassing them. Obviously, you got to draw the line there. But fans always get criticized here for like booing the team. Like, show me a team in the NHL who's had to deal with more of that kind of crap and embarrassment than the Leaf fans have. So.
But it's like if Vancouver could have found a way to play actual like hockey for more than 10 minutes, they would have won that game.
Like because actually get shots on net, maybe?
If they actually got shots on Skinner, I think they would have won the game. But credit Edmonton, they limited they played really good defense for a lot of the games, protecting Skinner, didn't want to give up a lot of shots because obviously they didn't trust the guy. And once Vancouver started shooting, look at that. They're starting to score.
Yeah. Well, I found it funny. Like during the game, I was kind of like when Vancouver didn't cash in on that 4-minute power play.
They didn't even have a shot.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, that's kind of nice. It's not only our team that can't score in a 4-minute power play in the playoffs.
At least someone on the Leafs would have took a shot on goal at least. And
I think we may have got 3 on that one. We got 3 shots. If
we had the luxury of facing a goalie with an 881 save percentage in the playoffs, I think we would have scored at least a couple.
I mean, you'd have to think.
But only the Leafs would find a way to make him look like Dominic Hasek, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was going to say. Like, everyone talks about, like, oh, we just got goalied. It's like, well, yes and no. Like, I think there's also the idea that it seems, and even True Living said it, like, when they, when they fired Sheldon Keefe in one of his press conferences, it was like, yeah, we make every goalie the first start. Like, it's not that they're that good. I mean, obviously, guys like Swayman, Vasilevsky, Carey Price, they're always great goalies for sure, but the Leafs seem to make it a little bit easier on them than you would hope.
Yeah, it seems like for each of the Carey Price and Vasilevskys, there's a Jonas Korpisalo that stones us. So.
Yeah, exactly. So any thoughts or predictions on the conference finals? Who do you like between Edmonton, Dallas?
Sticking with my original bracket, Dallas Rangers. If you remember, I had Rangers Leafs in the Eastern Conference Final. It's an easy switch over. I think the Rangers will deal with the Panthers in 6, I'd say.
Okay.
Bob's not at the same level he was last year. His Cinderella run's over. I think he's sub 900 in the playoffs. So
yeah, it hasn't been as good. That's for sure.
I think the Rangers win that in 6, and I think Dallas. I think Edmonton's a good team, but I think Dallas will steamroll them.
Yeah, I kind of feel that way. I'm sure Edmonton takes 1, maybe even 2 games.
I think that also goes 6. I wouldn't be surprised if it went 7, but man, McDavid would need to get going. Like that power play carries them, and Dallas is kind of, I think, maybe the best defensive team left. And if Ottinger's playing,
probably, I think obviously Jake Ottinger will be probably tougher than Shelov's was, even though Shelov's was better than expected. He was good. He was good. I think there's a lot of Canuck fans like now saying like, oh, if we had Demko. I'm like, you didn't lose because of goaltending. You didn't lose because of goaltending. Like, you got 15 shots on net in like 2 or 3 games. Like, that's not going to do it,
they were lucky to win game 1.
Yeah.
And really the Oilers, the only reason why the Oilers didn't finish off the series in 5 or 6 is because their goaltending was absolutely horrendous.
Right.
So, I mean, I think the Stars will take advantage of that unless Skinner can find a way to start playing Jeremy Swayman.
Yeah, they're have to steal at least a game, probably even more than that. And Chris Tanev is like the playoff shutdown guy. He did good work on McKinnon, Jack Eichel. So I think it's going to be, and even we saw like McDavid, I mean, not that there's a way to completely neutralize him, but what JT did against him, especially the games in Vancouver, was pretty darn impressive. I didn't think that there was a way to keep McDavid off the score sheet in a game 7. So it shows that McDavid can be limited, maybe not completely stopped or prevented, but I think Dallas has what it takes. And man, their forward depth is crazy.
Yeah, and Dallas
every line has someone.
Dallas held McKinnon to 3 pointless games in the series.
Did they? Okay.
3 games that McKinnon didn't have a point. Like and McDavid just came off a series where he just had 3 games without a point.
Yeah. Yeah. And when I was watching a lot of those Dallas, Colorado games, like obviously, on a few shifts every game, McKinnon just looks like, the NHL's best player. But then in between those shifts, it's like, McKinnon's not really getting much done. Like he's getting the puck and they're holding him up at the blue line and, he's taking off to the boards to end his shift early. He seemed frustrated at times. So, I think Tanev and the Dallas D will be able to figure out a way to at least hold McDavid. And then you don't have to really worry about Cody Ceci and Ryan McLeod beating you.
Yeah, sure. Cody Ceci's one of on ESPN last night. They showed that he's one of 3 active defensemen with multiple Game 7 goals.
I saw that. Like that was the most horrible thing for me, seeing like Cody Ceci and Zach Hyman scoring in Game 7. Like, are you kidding me, guys? Like, why?
Cody Ceci.
Well, the thing that they kept showing, I don't know if you saw this. Do you remember Cody Ceci in the playoff series against Columbus?
Oh, yeah.
Game 4 in overtime, where I forget if it was, it wouldn't have been Jim Houston, probably Cuthbert, who had the call. And Ceci took a shot from the blue line. And he's like, and Ceci shot and misses by a mile. And it was like probably the worst point shot in the history of hockey. Forget about just Maple Leaf hockey.
Shot it directly into the corner.
Yeah. So all I kept seeing is those like memes beside each other, like Cody Ceci, absolute rocket of a shot in Game 7 last night for Edmonton. And then the Toronto Maple Leaf misses by a mile against Columbus. Yeah. And I'm like, that's the most Leafy thing ever.
Yeah.
Unreal. He looks like Ray Bourque out there for Edmonton.
But in the East, I think the Rangers will deal with the Panthers. I just think the Rangers are such a deep team. Like they have so much skill and so much depth.
They have everything. Yeah, I think that's going to be like a very physical series. I expect to see at least a few brawls.
Yeah.
There's going to be 100%. Some brawls there, whether it's Sam Bennett and Trouba.
Rempe's going to be in there.
Yeah, if they even allow Rempe to play. I think he's been like averaging like 3 minutes of ice time.
Yeah, but he's there. He's an intimidation factor.
He's an intimidation. Exactly. Do you want us to put Rempe on the ice? We will. No, we won't. No, we won't. But we could. We could do it. I mean, he's ready. He's ready to go. He's fresh.
It's actually crazy how they're winning all these games, basically playing 11-6. Because Rempe plays a few shifts in the first, maybe a shift here in the second, and then that's it. I remember in the double OT game, he played like around 5 minutes.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
And I see like some posts on Twitter from like Rangers fans, and some people, it's the Rangers fan base is like they're very torn. Some people are like, "Why the hell do we have this guy only playing 5 minutes?"
Then everyone's like, "Oh, he's amazing. Rempe's amazing."
And then the other guy's like, "Oh, Empire State Building."
The only reason people keep their hands off of Panarin and Fox is because of Rempe. They're afraid of Rempe.
Not the threat of Trouba running and elbowing their head off.
No, like the guys who are actually on the ice to do something. Yeah, you're not worried about them. It's the guy sitting on the bench with dry skate blades. Yeah. I think for me, like I agree on the New York call. I think it will be a close series, but I do think New York will find a way. And then, I think with Dallas, I think they find a way against Edmonton too. I could see it being 5 games, 6 games, maybe, but it's just so hard to like say that they're going to completely steamroll a team with McDavid and Draisaitl. But I just don't see a way that Edmonton wins that series.
Yeah, I mean, I would never count out McDavid and Draisaitl.
No,
but I don't know. That goaltending is just
it doesn't inspire confidence, huh?
No. If you had to rely on Calvin Pickard for 2 games, that's
I can't believe they did that. I can't believe they did that for 2 games. Like I know Skinner was shit, so I don't blame them. That's the equivalent
to if the Leafs were like, all right, Game 7, Martin Jones, go in there and win it for us.
Yeah. Well, and so when people were calling for Jones to play when like Samsonov didn't look good, I'm like, you can't go to your 3rd string guy.
I was calling for Jack
one
Campbell.
Game in a month. Jack Campbell should have come in. Maybe he should have played Game 7.
I wanted to see Soupy in there.
That would have been the ultimate troll job to the Maple Leaf fan base. Like if they would have had Jack Campbell play game 7, and let's say he played like Skinner did last night, or at least didn't give up more than 2 goals, that would be the ultimate troll job. Goal by Ceci and Hyman, Jack Campbell, game winner.
Just one last
game-winning
thing.
Goalie.
Just one last thing. I thought when Carolina lost in game 6, and I was like, oh, it's about time. I was waiting for the classic Freddie Anderson collapse. I was waiting for it. The classic, you need to win the game. Okay, I'm going to give up 3 soft goals. The classic Freddie Anderson.
Here's the 5-hole. Have at it. Oh,
classic
per guy. Playoff Freddie. Playoff Freddie. And he was actually looking pretty good through most of that series, right?
It's classic Freddie. Give you hope and then snatch it all away.
He's always okay until you need him to be good. Until you really need him in a deciding elimination game. That's when he's like, yeah, guys, I'm done. Yeah, I just don't feel like playing anymore.
My friend goes into the group chat after one of the goals, and he's like, damn, that was a soft one. And I'm like, classic Freddie. I've been waiting for this.
Yeah, it seemingly is inevitable. I mean, and he's on the books for them next year, so I assume it's going to be him and Kochetkov again. He's a good goalie. You just might not be able to win.
You'll never win when you need him to.
No.
You'll never win.
Yeah, if you're okay with a goalie who's going to be good games 1 through 4, he might be your guy. He might be your guy.
When you finally
when the pressure hits.
I sat there. I said, no way is Carolina about a reverse sweep. Because I actually thought so. They took the lead in game 6, and I was like, oh my gosh.
Looking good. Yeah, I mean, that was a pretty epic collapse in game 6. What, were they up 2-0?
2-0.
3-0? Yeah.
I think it was 2-0, and then they gave up 3 straight.
Yeah, it's tough. That's tough. Obviously, something we're able to relate to as Leaf fans, but yeah, that is definitely a tough way to go, especially on home ice too. That sucks.
3-1 into the third, and then Chris Kreider 3 in a row in the third period.
Oh yeah, the natural Hattie. Yeah, it's impressive.
Clutch play.
Yeah. Maybe at some point we'll have some players who come up clutch at the right time.
Oh yeah.
I think we can dream. We can dream. Yeah. All right, man. Well, definitely good to chat and catch up on Berube and Marner and all happenings around the league.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll probably hear too much Leaf news in the coming week. As True Living said, they haven't focused on that yet. So they're going to be getting down to work this week on, conversations on what they're going to do with probably their own free agents and what their plans are with Mitch Marner. So I'm sure there'll be a lot to talk about sooner than later, though.
For sure.
All right, pal. Well, have yourself a good one. And to the audience, enjoy the day. Enjoy the rest of the hockey playoffs, and we'll chat soon.
For sure.
Take care, guys.